Phil Hyland, and you are listening to The Movie Raid.
It's time for The Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is entertainment performer, Phil Hyland, which you can also find him in Hellraiser 3. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
So what have we been up to lately? I know you're also a musician, several albums out and so forth. What's going on with that?
Give you the quick nutshell. Yeah, I've got some streaming songs on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon and Google Play, anywhere, any of those streaming platforms. And yes, it is true. I did start out way back in Hellraiser 3, and I've since moved on, and as I've gotten older, I work behind the scenes now out here at Warner Brothers Studios in sunny Burbank, California. And now I'm mainly behind the scenes.
From being an artist to working in behind the scenes, is it more in terms of working with it, almost like hands-on for you, or do you think this is almost a little bit help you mentally focus on things, a better perspective on the industry rather than just having to work up as an artist in the industry, almost like two different minds, so to speak?
Started out as a stage actor in Virginia first, and then eventually got into getting these parts, like booking the Hellraiser part, TV for CBS and NBC, really young. And I think what happened to me is, as I got older, and I lived in New York City for a decade, and now I've been out in LA for 20 plus years, things change, and the business has certainly changed, and I found myself getting more and more into behind the scenes production work. I worked on the last season of the X-Files in the camera department, and you just find that also circumstances change. I got married and had kids, and as you know, the life of a performer or actor, it's essentially freelance work. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down, and my wife was like, man, I don't know if I can live like this. So I opted to stay in this industry, which has been really good to me. But now, I'm behind the camera. It's a bit humbling too, but that's reality. I have a well-balanced life. A lot of my friends are successful actors, performers, or newscasters. A lot of my family members are in the business too. Both my in-laws are Broadway actors. I got a little bit older and I realized, man, I'm really, this auditioning thing, you have to audition for everything. No one's just going to give you a part. Honestly, it wore on me. It wore on me when I was in New York, and I think probably I did like a little bit part on Everybody Loves Raymond, just a day player, and I'm sure you all know what a day player is. It's just you get a SAG speaking role for one day. Usually you're still there on set for the whole week doing the blocking and everything, but it's a small part, and then you're done. And I think that was probably just after 9/11, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. For me, and I'm just speaking for me, man, I hate to say I gave up the dream of being an actor, and I still do some acting, but it became less important. And like I said, I had kids, and when you're working on movie sets, it's like 16-hour days. For me, it became disenchanted with it.
Do you think that at some point that from dedication can also lead to retaliation as time goes and as film changes basically every year or every decade?
Definitely studied and trained as an actor. Yeah, the film industry is changing every day. I mean, and the technology is certainly changing incredibly fast. No, I just think I switched gears. Good news is that I learned so much on set that when I got behind the camera, I had my set etiquette down. I knew how to behave on set and who all the different department heads were. And so it made my life, it was a natural fit. I've been in this industry since I was 16 years old, and here I am. I mean, look, man, I'm 51 years old, but right now I'm calling you from the best movie studio in the world. I'm on the lot at Warner Brothers Studios, and I had an early job as an actor here on a show called China Beach, way back in like 1988. You probably weren't even around then, but I've always loved this studio lot. So, for me right now, I'm part of this history of this lot. And it's just cool. It's a busy time, and certainly every day you're doing something different. So I enjoy it.
Do they treat you differently more than just an employee? Of course, you hear that all the time in every job that you probably ever done, but do they actually put dedication and actually caring for the employees, as long as you, of course, do the job and you do it very well?
Oh, this place is incredibly supportive. supportive. I mean, people here, like my boss has been here going on 30 years. People just don't leave the studio. You know, you get a job here. I mean, they take care of you. Look, Clint Eastwood's been on this a lot. He's got an office here. He's been here for 35 plus years, Malpaso Productions. So this is a nurturing place. So I'm fortunate to be here. You know, I used to work at a company called Panavision, the camera maker, switched gears and came over here after everything went digital, and Panavision was heavy into film, you know, celluloid. So gives you a little backstory on how quickly the industry shifted out here.
Now, the experience is usually the best part. It's usually the most fun part in anything that you do, because when you have any kind of interest at all, you want to experience as much as you can. But how do you deal with coping with something that you end up having no experience or very little experience in? How do you cope with that when you really can't just avoid it? This is the next step, what you're doing, especially working with studios.
It's just a learning curve. You know, when I got here, man, I definitely felt a little intimidated. You know, this studio's probably going on almost 100 years. It started out in the early 1920s. So it's a little intimidating, and honestly, it took me a couple of years to get comfortable here, but as of this April, I'll be 10 years here on the studio lot. So now I got a decade in. I've learned this is the movie business. They're in it to make money, and there is a lot of sameness to the job, you know, like how you make one movie, pretty much how you're going to make the next movie in terms of structure and pre-production, and then all the way into post, and then when you completely wrap out the picture. But I've learned a lot of the back-end details of how the industry works, and, you know, assets and savings, props from every film is like a huge thing now, because there's a whole other end of the business, which is exhibits, where we display a lot of our iconic props, and I'm a big part of that. Everything from the Batmobile to the piano that Sam played in the classic Warner Brothers film Casablanca.
Actually taught you anything in terms of how to better finance yourself working with a studio, and working, not just having to work with projects and having to learn all these other new techniques, but financial wise, is this not just earning the money, but does it actually teach you a little bit how to actually finance it to make a better living for yourself?
I'm not a millionaire or anything like that. I don't want to paint a picture like that, but it's a stable environment because it's such a lucrative industry to be in. So, like, if any of your listeners have even thought about, like, wow, what's it like to work in the entertainment industry? You know, look, you can make a decent living and all the things we all want, you know. There's a good benefits package, even though the stock market's tanking today in light of what's going on out there, this whole coronavirus craziness. This is a really stable industry, you know, sure. And it's in terms of, like, financing your own projects. I've learned a ton about when I've produced my own pilots and stuff. And, yeah, you learn how to estimate pages, and we have a whole department here called estimating. All they do is figure out how much it costs to shoot one page of the script, you know? So they have it down to a T here.
And the kind of responsibility that you have to take, how much do you actually take on responsibility? Do you take the full responsibility, or do you have to actually divide up the responsibility for the coworkers that you work with?
No, I own each job. You know, I'll be put on special projects. You know, I'll work on different titles, you know, whether it's Birds of Prey or, you know, the latest Chris Nolan movie, or I'm here really to help with whatever, whether it's a filmmaker or a TV producer or even reality TV. You know, my job is to support anyone at the studio that needs my help with production support. And that could be anything from, like, getting camera equipment to Europe, or wrapping out an entire set and doing special events, publicity junkets, and trade shows like Comic-Con. We take ownership of our jobs, and, you know, I certainly have a boss that I report to. Where I'm at career-wise, I own my own jobs. I just take care of it, and, you know, I'll work with other departments like publicity and music departments, and that's a team effort for sure out here.
Now, with your past experiences of projects, and as well as your musical projects as well, would you actually leave that as standstill, or would you actually make that into a business as your own? From the sounds of it, you're pretty well established as is. Would you use that as additional revenue, or would you cater to something else toward the audience for a different purpose?
I think in any industry, you always got to have other projects going on, you know, passionate, or your own passion projects. I still produce my own music, still write my own music. When you have a dedicated job, that takes a lot of time during your day. Like, am I going to go home tonight after this interview and sit down and on the guitar or piano write a new song, or, you know, tracks up? I don't know. It's a toss-up. You know, maybe I'll hang out with my wife. So it's hard to fit it all in. And people do that. I mean, look at the industry's changed, where people like Beyonce, they have their own clothing line now. They're doing TV, they're doing music tours. So you just can't be one thing anymore in entertainment. You see these musicians that are actors, and back in the day, everyone was so segregated. It's like, oh, I'm only going to be an actor. You know, I only want to be like a Robert De Niro. But now you got people like George Clooney. They got their own tequila brands and clothing. Doesn't like Ryan Gosling have his own like line of vodka or something? Like, people are doing all this entrepreneurial stuff, and that's really what it is. That's Hollywood. You have a concept, you have a project, you have a screenplay or a song, develop it and shoot it. Don't wait for anyone to do it for you, because ain't nobody going to do it for you. You just got to go out there and shoot it. I don't care where you live. You know, grab a camera, write up a treatment, and shoot it.
Do you think some artists out there, or anyone else in related, they question their ability sometimes? Do you think that might be a problem, or do you think it's just need to stop questioning your ability, rather do all this other stuff and revenue and all this other stuff, or just simply go the straight route, be an actor, da-da-da?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I question myself all the time. I think if you're an artist, you will question everything you do. And, you know, most artists are perfectionists, and a lot of artists are hard on themselves. I'm incredibly hard on myself. I want to put out the best work possible. Record music, I want it to be broadcast quality. Do I always have the opportunity to record like a broadcast quality song? No, because, you know, studio time's expensive. And, you know, people say, well, you know, home recordings. Yeah, look, the tech for home recording is really improves. You can get a pretty decent sound, and a lot of people, yes, work out of their living rooms and put out records that way now, you know, streaming. But you can't pro gear being in a pro studio. And I think that translates to with making a movie. You want to shoot it on the best equipment, and yeah, it does. You can get a little intimidated, like if you're living somewhere not near some major media center, and you're like, nah, I just gotta suck it up and use the equipment I have in hand. I mean, remember the Blair Witch Project way back?
Oh yeah, I look at the quality of that. The fact is that they made lots of money over the time, and they had a very low budget, very low quality equipment, and it was intentional. All of it was intentional, and they had a very small, reasonable location where they just had their actors just walk around half the time for at least like 6, 8, or whatever, how many weeks. But it was a huge success. But the
marketing was huge. Look at that; it was like full spectrum. They had everything going for them. They had like this insanely successful marketing campaign. I remember I was living in New York when that came out, and everybody was talking about it. It had like such buzz.
Yeah, it was that mystique. It was that mysteriousness going on with it. And the fact is, like, this was something that some people actually thought there might have been a lore behind it, and that was the best part. And then, of course, they made the second movie, and then that's when it kind of went away.
Exactly. You know what's another great example? Napoleon Dynamite. Like, I've heard stories about that movie, you know, super low budget. Guys are scrambling to get, like, the grip equipment. They're begging to get camera gear, the lighting equipment. And I just heard, like, people just took a chance on that movie, man. And dude, that's one of my favorite movies. That movie's hilarious. I love it. You know, it's not a big studio movie. Everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. It's like, what's that guy, the actor's name? John Hurt or something? Made him a star. No, that's a great example of, like, just go out and shoot it. You know, beg, borrow, and, well, I don't want to say steal, but, yeah, beg, borrow, and steal, you know, the gear and the equipment, and go shoot your picture. And, you know, like, on the creative tip, you get it. Maybe I get a little frustrated and think, I don't want to put this song out. Maybe this song, I don't know if it's good enough. I'll measure it to Bruno Mars. Oh, I want to sound like Bruno Mars. It sounds nothing like Bruno Mars. You know what? Put out your best work. Quit being hypercritical on your stuff and just put your art out there. And if you don't release your art, no one's ever going to hear it, and you're not producing. You're not an artist. You know, an artist needs to get down to it and put out, whether it's painting, music, films, you know, whatever medium you work in, it's all in the doing, right? You know, you sit down, you got a blank page in front of you. What do you got to do? You got to sit your ass down and write.
And sometimes when work becomes work, well, it's not work if you love what you do. And yeah, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, even self-criticism, but that's okay because it's a part of the territory, because you're learning and you're progressing at the same time of what you do, because you're not worried about what's happening out there, or rather not someone's going to like your stuff. The fact is, if you're satisfied with this vision, that's okay. And if other people are not, well, then that's just self-opinionated, because everything in the world is catered to everybody in the world. There's nothing specific. Okay, these people are going to like this, or these people are going to like this. This is going to sell. No, that's why it's the whole point of genres. That's the whole point of different kinds of music. Everything else is catered to everybody. Not everyone is going to like the same thing, but that's the beauty part. You don't have to like the same thing, especially to the artist. I know it's a big level, but at the same time, you're going to have to accept that, because it's just not going to be a two-way street all the time. And unfortunately, you'll have to accept that, because as long as you get your art out there to some degree, anywhere, any way you can, someone is going to pick it up. It's that simple.
Yeah, you just do reboots. You're like, oh my God, not another reboot. Or like, oh please, dear God, tell me they're not making another Hangover 4. Same with all the Star Wars reboots. Like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and honestly, the first Star Wars, when that thing came out in 1977, I was a little punk-ass kid in the movie theater in Richmond, Virginia, going like, how do they do this? This is incredible. And I credit that movie for planting the seed, man. And that's why I'm out here to this day. Funny story, when I first moved out here as an actor in '88, I dated Penny Marshall's niece and got to meet Carrie Fisher and had dinner with her and the whole Marshall family for Thanksgiving. And that was like my first holiday experience in Hollywood. Can you imagine how tripped out I was? In Virginia, 1977, my parents take me and my brother to this movie called Star Wars: A New Hope. Comes out in the movie theater. Can't believe it. Blows me away. Huge Star Wars fan right out of the gate. In 1988, I moved to Hollywood, California. I get that little bit part in China Beach on the WB lot. I meet the Marshall family, who's Penny Marshall, Gary Marshall, and they had a sister named Ronnie Hyland, who was a producer of Happy Days. Date one of their kids, meet Penny Marshall, meet Carrie Fisher. I mean, it's crazy. That's my own little experiences in Hollywood. That's crazy, man. It's crazy. And that was just me going like, I got to make a move. My home life was not so great back there. I moved out here when I was 19 years old by myself. I knew like one guy I had worked with on a movie of the week that shot in Petersburg, Virginia, the Civil War picture. And I came out here with that one contact, 19 years old. Bro, I was scared shitless. But you know what? I'm really glad I did it, and that really changed my life, man. Changed my life. Did I become a huge actor? No. Did I become a happy man and working in the entertainment industry? Absolutely, man, 100%. And just even like talking to you because of Hellraiser 3, and I know Ken Carpenter, obviously, because we worked together on Hellraiser. Like, I love this stuff, man. This is what I love about the business the most, like this kind of stuff, just talking about like going out there, taking a chance, making art, putting your hand out and meeting people and learning. I didn't know shit when I came out here. And a lot of that for me is I started out as a regional actor in Richmond, Virginia. I started out, on a whim. A neighbor's like, why don't you audition for this play? And I wound up playing the lead role in a Neil Simon play called Brighton Beach Memoirs at a regional theater in Virginia. That was a big regional hit, and I was like, wow, I'm not too bad at this acting thing. And that's when I really learned from that theater. It's called Barksdale Theater, which is now the Virginia Repertory Theater Company. That's where it started for me, man. Just like going out on a limb, doing this drama thing, Who would have thought, right? All those little jobs definitely like start the ball rolling. But the sky's the limit. You just create.
Go and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out right now.
Yeah, just go to philhyland.com, and that's PHILHYLAND.com. That'll take you to all my music, and I've got a little music video up there, and take you to my IMDb page, and I'll post shows. Basically, I do live shows in LA probably every once every quarter, and I'll post any new stuff I do up there. But yeah, go check out philhyland.com, please.
There you have it, everybody. That is Phil Hyland.
Mike, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.